What a roller coaster of a month May has been for myself, and I'm very sorry for just recording this update now, May 17th. This should have been recorded on the 5th or the 7th of the month, but I spoke at City Hall. We listed a bunch of properties this month, which is a record for us, and we actually did a lot of things behind the scenes, and I'm going to record more videos about the blanket rezoning, what that means for people, some news article stuff that's been brought up about the Bank of Canada rate cuts, and all of these pieces of information that I will bring to your attention over the next 30 days. So let's get into this. Now, the townhouse market in Calgary is just on fire. It is absolutely exploding and passing past a lot of people's expectations. So let's look at this now. You can see that the price point has set new records in the entire city. We had a slowdown from November to February, but then it's just continued on that upwards trend with sales greatly outpacing inventory. My name is Adam Fyfe, your Calgary Realtor. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed to the channel and submits great comments. I really appreciate all of that. I have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I plan on bringing you more information as we come. We have a lot of off-market listings. We have a lot of information with the blanket rezoning, and there's just a lot to unpack. So just stay tuned, more to come. Now, the CMHC forecasts that existing home prices will surge by 20% in the next 2 years. I would say that townhouses will lead that charge in the entire country. If Calgary continues to stay on this trajectory, I would imagine that townhouses will be one of the highest percentaged increased property types in the entire country, and that will be here in Calgary. They are going at such a fast rate that I don't think it's going to slow down, and I'm pretty sure out of all property types in all cities in Canada, townhouses in Calgary is going to lead that charge. Now, in mortgage news here, I thought this was quite interesting, and I want to bring this to your attention. My good friend Joel Richards at Richards Mortgage Group does a monthly mortgage update for professionals. If you are interested in receiving that that weekly update, which is released on Mondays, go ahead, reach out to me. I'll get you linked up with Joel. It is a really good email. So there's a couple things I want to note here. Employment in Canada rose by 90,000 people in April 2024, the most in 15 months, following a decrease of 2.2 thousand in March, surpassing the forecast of 18. The latest piece of economic news casts further doubts on the possibility of a first Bank of Canada rate cut in June, like some economists were predicting earlier this year. So if you're waiting for that rate cut, the Canadian economy is continuing to grow, and we're starting to see more employment come to the market. There's still a lot of good things happening in Canada behind the scenes. Like, we're not great by any means, but we're still progressing past this high inflation, this high interest rate environment. And stuff like this is just casting doubts across the board of if we're actually going to see a rate cut in June. It'll be very interesting to see. So if you have questions, go ahead, reach out to Joel Richards. He's really good. He will definitely have a conversation with you about it. So with that being said, townhouses in Calgary have now reached $458,000, up 20% from last year. A lot of other property types in Calgary are seeing double-digit price growth. They're seeing 20%. Okay, so that's a $70,000 increase from last year. That is a massive increase for a affordable product in Canada. We've saw a $9,500 increase from 1 month, $9,400 from 1 month, which is pretty crazy to say. I don't think the townhouse market is going to slow down at all. We have to remember there's attributes for this benchmark price. Going to bust through this pretty quick. 2 bed, 2 bath, 1,160 square foot, 1/2 bath, built in 2004 with a single attached garage. So if you're looking at attributes, just make sure to put those, if you're looking at benchmark, just make sure to put the attributes in play. Now, this is what the Calgary Real Estate Board has written about this market. If you want to read it on your own, that's fine. Go ahead and pause the video, skip to the next chapter, I won't be offended. Row home sales continue to improve in April, contributing to the year-to-date gain of 19%. At the same time, new listings have improved by 16% so far this year. The gains in new listings did little to change the low inventory situation due to sales activity. This has kept the sales to new listing ratio high at 93% and a month of inventory below 1 month for the 4th consecutive month. The persistently tight conditions, especially in the lower price ranges, are driving further price growth for row homes. In April, the unadjusted benchmark price reached $458,000, 2% higher than last month and 20% higher than levels reported last year. Both monthly and yearly gains were highest in the most affordable districts. We hear that every single month for basically every single thing. So if we go back to this chart here, it's very fascinating. So you can see that the sales are not quite as high, they're not quite as high as the peaks of last year, May, June, but I would imagine as we're continuing to go through the year, we're going to hit those highs. So last year you could see we were very close to 500 sales and then over 500 sales in June. This month, we're just below that. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at the inventory or the amount of homes left over at the end of the month, you can see we saw an increase from February to March, but now we're seeing a decrease in April. And if you compare it to April, May, June, there's actually less townhouses available at the end of the month than there were last year. And we're already setting a higher sales record compared to April of 2023. So this is a recipe for continued price increase for the townhouse market. So for you investors out there, or for your homeowners out there, townhouses are projected to continue to grow in price. It's pretty self-explanatory. So this chart here is the exact same information, just in numerical, just to kind of give a better visualization of what's going on. So you can see the sales, the new listings, the inventory. We only had about 338 townhouses left over at midnight on the 31st. 19 days on the days on market is 19 days, which is low. You can see last year, the lowest that we hit was 19 days in June, and we're already at 19 days in April. So I would imagine the days on market is going to actually go all the way down even past, last month, 17 days. So keep an eye out for that. Very, very fast, very hot market. The days on, the benchmark price, the median price is actually down to 462, and the average price is actually down, just meaning that the lower priced townhouses below the $458,000 were more active in this past month, but the benchmark price is still going up. So those attributes are actually becoming more expensive, even though the average price was lower than last month. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is pretty cool. This is the city of Calgary. This is the townhouse market. You can see total sales year to date was almost 1,600, up 20%. The sales volume, massive increase, 42% to 738 million, which is pretty gnarly compared to last year. New listings year to date was 1,800. Inventory is on average about 314. Months of supply is 1.7. Like, look at the decrease of months of supply. You can see 1.1 to 7.79. A little bit of a tongue twister there. Very, very hot market going on here. Sales to new listing ratio, year-to-date average is about 86%. The sales to new listing price is actually up 102.53%, which is pretty crazy. So the majority of listings are getting 2.5–3% over their list price. Days on market's down, and then we will touch on these benchmark prices in another slide. City of Calgary total sales. Now this is a year to date, so this is just kind of comparing our previous markets. You can see that as a whole, we're beating last year's total sales, meaning more activity. You can see that even though we're seeing a massive increase in sales, townhouse market really doesn't represent a whole lot in the city of Calgary. When you compare it to the detached market and then the apartment market, you can see just a little sliver of townhouse sales. If you actually compare it to 2022, if you just look at the size difference there, you can see that in 2022 there was a lot more townhouse sales than there is in 2024. But the price points were like $120,000 less than what they are now. So very interesting stuff there. Total inventory by price range. Love this chart. A little bit interesting to talk about when it comes to the townhouse stuff. A lot of the 300s, 400s, 500s is kind of where the townhouses are going to sit. You can see that there is a lot of inventory in the city center when you start to break down those colors, followed by northeast and then looks like southeast. So a lot of inventory, not a lot of inventory in the city, just based off of those charts that we saw earlier. You can see that the 7 to a million plus is where all the inventory is sitting, but we don't really talk about that in townhouses because there's really not a lot of them. But with that being said, with this new rezoning that's going on, I would imagine a lot of these townhouses that are being built are going to be $600,000 and $700,000 because a lot of the townhouses are going to be built with legal basement suites. If an investor is going to take on an investment, they want to get the most amount for that land value. And the most amount that they're going to get for that land value is building townhouses with legal basement suites. So we're going to see townhouses being built 4 to 8 units, all with legal basement suites. So that's going to be 8 to 12 units on these lots. I'm going to record a video on that in the future, but I would imagine, remember this, because total inventory, especially for the townhouse market, this will change in the next couple of years as we see more townhouses being built on 50 by 120 lots in Calgary. So I'm going to rest my case there for now. Months of supply. This is very interesting. This is just a showcase of how fast certain markets are moving, we're going to look at the townhouse market here. You can see that the fastest market actually is North Calgary, followed by South and Northwest Calgary, all hovering around 0.5 to 0.6 months. Now, if you look at this entire thing, everything is below 1 month of supply, with West Calgary seeing about 0.9 to 1 month of supply. So with that being said, if no new listings, no new buyers came to the market, these things would be flushed out within 2 to 3 weeks, right? There is just so much activity going on in this market. The days on market is 19 days. It is going to be flushed out very fast. And I would imagine this is going to stay relatively the same all throughout 2024. So just keep that in mind if you're getting into the market. Now, the total benchmark price for April, this is kind of cool. You just kind of see a representation of how expensive things are. So you can see that the most affordable is $300,000 still in East Calgary. You can see it followed by Northeast, and then everything else is somewhat hovering around that $400 to $450 price range. Now, like always, you just want to make sure that you're putting in the attributes. So here are the attributes. Pause the video. If you're curious about a certain quadrant, overlap with this chart with this chart, and you can see the differences between those attributes there. So with that being said, this is a price growth chart. This is just a visualization of how much things have increased in certain communities. You can see that East Calgary and Northeast Calgary have seen the absolute biggest increases. East Calgary has seen 40% increases. Now, that seems like a massive percentage, and it is, but you have to remember that it's the most affordable. So the benchmark price still is $300,000. That means that back a couple years ago, it was probably worth $180,000, right? When we start to compare those charts. So massive increases. Everything is over 15-16% year over year. Townhouses, not slowing down. If you want to know what your townhouse is worth, this AI software is super slick. It is pretty good for townhouses because it can actually relate to your complex, and it has a very simple time to give you a fairly accurate value. If you're curious of what that is, go ahead, put in your property address, your name, your email. Yes, I'm going to call. Hey, I'm going to say hello. I'm going to thank you for using the system. I'll ask you some questions if you're looking at getting into the market, if you're just kicking tires, because whatever it is, that's fine, right? I'm here to develop relationships. I'm here to deliver value. So thank you for everyone that's actually gone ahead and used this service, because I really appreciate it. Now, microeconomic breakdown. This is what a lot of people are waiting for, in a sense. So here's the sales, here's the new listings, here's the sales and new listings ratio. Look at North Calgary. They had 67 sales, but only 57 new listings, meaning that they had a 117% sales and new listing ratio. Pretty quickly diminishing 10 of the inventory left over from last month. So inventory left over townhomes at the end of the month, you can see that East Calgary only had 7. But when you start to look at the 7 and 13 sales and listings, you can see that East Calgary, for an entire quadrant, has very few townhouses for sale. Months of supply, again, everything is hovering around that 0.7 months. Benchmark price, year-over-year growth, month-over-month growth, and then I'll reveal this now. This is the actual numerical value for each individual quadrant. You can see a lot of quadrants are double digits when, the 11% or 11,000, 10,000, and the lowest increase was $7,600. Still a massive increase from last month. And when you start to look at the month prior to that, Northeast saw 16,000, West saw 18,000, South saw 13,000. So we're seeing these double-digit price growth all throughout these quadrants, very quickly increasing in price. So this chart is just a showcase of how intense this market has been. So it has seen over 10% year-over-year growth since, let's call it, March of 2022. So since March 2022, townhouses have seen a 10% increase year over year every single month. It looked like it peaked to about 20-ish% in, let's call it, December of 2023, right? Wild stuff here. We're not going to slow down. I would imagine we're going to see double-digit price growth all throughout 2024, going into 2025. Townhouses are just not slowing down. Pretty good investments right now, if I'm going to call anything out. City of Calgary row townhouses, look at how fast prices have increased. 2019, 2020, 2021 saw a small blip. 2022 took off, saw a stabilization when we saw increase in interest rates. 2023 just absolutely shot off. 2024, I would imagine, is going to be a replication of 2023. So, one of the things I do want to highlight for those of you who actually stayed here is this thing here. This is written by the OWL, which is funded by ATB Financial. This is a really good kind of underlying piece of information just to keep in consideration of where Canada is currently at. And one of the things that I called out a couple years ago is just how can Alberta withstand all of this new migration? Do we have enough jobs to support all of these new people coming here. So give this a pause. I'm not going to read it. Give this a pause and read it. It's a very good written kind of explanation of what's going on here in Alberta. Now, it doesn't really break it down to Calgary and Edmonton, but it does give Alberta as a whole, because I think you could agree with me that the majority of people who came to Alberta came to Calgary. So give this a read. We have increased to about 7% unemployment, which is not bad, but it's not great. And I would imagine the unemployment rate is going to continue to increase in Alberta. This chart here is a pretty good representation of that. You can see that Canada has reached 6.1, and Alberta, if you see actually that little sharp little climb there, is now at 7%. So if we look at, let's just call it June of 2022, we've been slowly increasing ever since, reaching 7%. And it'll be very fascinating to see just how high we get. If you look at 2016 and 2017, you can see that we hit our peaks around 9%, give or take, and then we dropped down, and then obviously the pandemic happened. It dropped down pretty dramatically over the next couple of years, but now we're starting to tick back up because of the amount of people coming here. So, going to be very interesting. I'm going to touch on this quite a bit as we progress through this year and through 2025, because yes, we're seeing increases like crazy because we're starting to see a lot of people coming here, but how sustainable is this growth? And that's where I want to try and paint a picture for you guys and walk us all through this process as we all learn together. So thank you very much. If you like this content, give me a comment, give me a like. I appreciate everyone who does this. I guess we'll just see you on the next one. Peace.